There he is, Phil Robertson, the commander of Duck Dynasty, now suspended from cable's biggest reality hit after he insulted gays and questioned the value of civil rights laws in GQ magazine. Turns out this was nothing new. He said gays are full of, quote, evil and murder in this 2010 sermon.
Women with women, men with men. They committed indecent acts with one another, and they received in themselves the due penalty for their perversion.
But after the suspension from A&E, owned in part by ABC, Commander Phil's supporters struck back.
A&E, they were absolute quacks on this one.
What happened to freedom of religion, freedom of speech?
Is this who we are? We're just gonna be quiet because he has an opinion about the scriptures?
Welcome back to the Culture Wars. Welcome back to the Roundtable. Donna, they're from Louisiana, the Duck Dynasty, your state. Yeah. And they have really become an empire, which is why A&E, even though they suspended him, are also going to keep Commander Phil in the shows that are coming out in January.
Well, there's still about 9 or 10 episodes, and yeah, I've watched it. For the recipes, of course. As a Louisianian, I know people who will say things aloud that more sophisticated people will keep to themselves. He was wrong. What he said was insensitive. He's apologized. I don't know if anybody will accept his apology. He has a right to free speech. Sarah Palin has a right to defend him. Glad has a right to attack him, and the rest of us have the right to turn on other channels.
But is the right to free speech the right to have his reality show?
Well, yeah, I mean, sure. I mean, A&E can do what it wants, but A&E has got to be the quintessential hypocrite of the year, because while they suspend him, they have 5 hours the other night. They have a marathon today. They're going to air it in January. But so, I mean, I'm a little bit surprised at A&E because they act like, oh no, this is so horrible. They knew about this long before they even hired the guy.
Yeah,
I mean, and he has a free speech, but he's got very bad manners.
Should we have been surprised that this came out?
No, probably not. Like a lot of these things, it was sort of hiding in plain sight. But I think it is not a free speech question. I think A&E has the right to do what it wants. I think many other networks have excused people that they thought were inappropriate, whether it's Don Imus, Glenn Beck, in some ways even excused
Don't
from
point at me.
From your own boxes. And just yesterday, Barry Diller fired a PR guy for a tweet that he thought was that he thought was inappropriate. So I think this is not a free speech.
Well, it's free speech as to him. He can say what he wants, and Glenn can say what he wants. No, but he could say it. I mean, yes, of course, he can say it. It's A&E, though, is acting like, oh, no, this is so horrible, when they knew about it a long time ago, and they're pushing it.
It's not just A&E. Cracker Barrel, I guess, is pulling some of the Duck Dynasty goods off their shelves, Walmart, some of them as well. But this has been a huge $400 million business.
Yeah, that's pretty impressive. Donna knows much more about it than I do, but she has a close cultural connection to it from her Louisiana roots.
On you.
Yeah. Look, the political correctness is out of hand. I think Steve mentioned Barry Diller, a young woman employee of his, who I take it is actually, as it happens, someone with 10 minutes of research. She's a liberal and all this, tolerant person out there in West L.A. She sends some tweet getting on a plane, and she's fired before the plane lands. I mean, that is insane. That really is sort of lynch mob, you know, on Twitter.
I suppose the tweet was, I mean, I actually don't even, I know what it is, but I don't want to repeat it. It was unbelievably offensive.
Yeah. She's gone to South Africa,
you know, that's why I'm not on Twitter.
HIV, but then she said, I'm what? It's insensitive. What he said was extremely ignorant. Ignorant use of the Bible, ignorant use of even discussing that blacks were happy
before the civil rights.
To me, this is a fascinating conversation. This is the #1 reality show on television, and it's not only the #1 reality show on cable, it's like one of the #1 shows on television, which is reflective, I think, and this whole conversation is reflected about the divide in this country, which is red America versus blue America. And if you look at the viewing patterns of this show and the reaction from both sides in this, both sides are looking across the street and saying, who are you? Who are you? And each side is doing this. And this whole First Amendment right argument, to me, if you want to talk about a hypocrite, to me, Sarah Palin's a hypocrite in this. I didn't see her defending the Dixie Chicks. I didn't see her defending Martin Bashir.
Why is everybody looking at me every time anything comes remotely?
So I don't think it's a first. Each side uses the First Amendment like a club. Every time somebody says something stupid, they use it as a
I think that's true. I think that's true.
We do not call for people.
I think that's true.
I'm sorry, the left is now specialized in let's have a mob attack on someone and call for people to be fired.
I don't really think
that is more of a left. There's some conservative political correctness, but the left specializes.
The surprising thing about this is these guys were hired because they're rednecks, and they didn't get suspended because they're rednecks. I mean, in the end, that's what's going on.
And the other irony is they may not really be suspended after all. Let's look ahead to 2014 right now, and let's start out with what's the story you're watching in 2014?
I think it reverts back to this, which is this unbelievable amount of middle-class frustration and anger in this country. I think they feel like they haven't been tended to in over a generation. They feel like a lot of wealth is getting created in this country, and they have no part of it. They're sitting there trying to pay their bills, and they're doing it, and they're being accountable in their own life and responsible in their own lives, and they're not getting any help, and business or government is not helping them in this process, and that anger is going to continue to grow.
And quickly, politician to watch?
Jerry Brown, actually. And I think Jerry Brown is set up, if he wants, much in the ilk of Mandela, who was in his 70s when he got elected president, and Pope Francis, who didn't become Pope until he was 76, somebody that combines politics and spirituality.
Donna.
Wage stagnation, productivity is up, wages as a percentage of inflation is stagnant. I'm watching that. Income inequality and how the politicians deal with that. The long-term unemployed, what do we do with them? The politicians? I'm watching everyone but Hillary. Because on the Democratic side, we have so many great leaders, so many people that we haven't talked about. I'm watching all of the rest.
Bill.
I think the Obama administration's attempt to cut a deal with Iran will not work. I don't think the president will act to stop Iran from getting nuclear weapons. I think Israel will act, and I think that will be a big moment in 2014. On the political figure to watch, I actually wonder, everyone assumes Hillary Clinton's going to run for president. I wouldn't be that surprised if by the end of 2014, both Jeb Bush and Hillary Clinton will have taken themselves out of the presidential race for 2016. No more dynasties. Except maybe the Duck dynasty.
That was a bold prediction.
Syria, I think that's the big question. I was in Iraq last week, and Al-Qaeda is really building up among the rebel groups in Syria. So what are we going to do? Are we going to back the group that's trying to kill us, the opposition group, or Al-Qaeda, or the guy who's gassed his civilians? And I think Syria is a tinderbox. As the person to watch, I think keep your eye on what's going on with Governor Susana Martinez, because she was called by Christie to help him with the Hispanics in New Jersey. Republicans badly need a Hispanic, so I'd keep my eyes on her, assuming she does well as a governor.
Okay, Steve Ratner.
As far as the most important issues, I certainly agree with Donna and with Matthew, so let me throw out another one. I'm watching what's going on in New York City because we have a new mayor coming in. We talk a lot about the division in the Republican Party between the Tea Party and the so-called moderates. In the Democratic Party, we are facing a similar discussion between progressives and more centrists, led by, of course, Bill Clinton. And so Bill de Blasio will come in. He's brought a very vigorous progressive agenda, and we're going to see if people get behind it. As far as a person, Janet Yellen, she is a political appointee, and I think she is the second most important person.
You got it in right under the wire. We're out of time. Thank you all for a great roundtable.